trouble. Tell me what happened.
In the afternoon, Helen was driving and I was sitting on the side, and suddenly I could feel there was a smell of fire. I said to Helen, it smells like grass burning, because Helen does not feel the smell. And I felt that the smoke was really close, and we were watching, you know, you can see the horizon, you can see really, really far, but you couldn't see any smoke. But it did smell intense. So first I took off my seatbelt to watch on the pickup if there was a gasoline burn or something, but it wasn't. So I set back again, and then I could see in the back mirror, I could see something orange. So I opened the door and leaned back, and then I could feel fire coming to my legs, get into the door, and I could see flames, like 1 meter big flames coming up of the rear tire.
From the vehicle?
From our vehicle. So I just smashed the door and said, Helen, it's a car on fire, we have to get out.
And I was like, no, because the Kalahari Desert is not a sand desert, it's like a grass. Like, it's being on the ocean, but the only thing you see is dry grass. And I was like, no grass fire here, because then we are dead. I almost panicked there, just by her saying she could smell the fire. But then when she said the car is on fire, when she closed the door, I saw in the back mirror the flame from the back tire as well. And I just had to, you know, okay, we have to get out, and the car needs to stay on the road. I can't get a burning car down in this grass. So I tried to hit the brake really hard, and then I just threw myself out from the car while it was still running.
I was trying to crawl over the seat, and I got stuck in the seat belt with a foot. And then when the seat ended, I just continued crawling. I didn't jump out, I just crawled out. So I fell out with my head first out of the car, and then I could see the back wheel coming towards my head. So I thought that this is it, now I'm dying. And I've always imagined that you should see your family, the memories of your life or something when you die. But I just thought that not like this, not this way. And that was just not even 1 second. And then I managed to get out of the way from the tire. I was lying on the floor, hitting my shoulder really bad. And then I could go towards Helen. The car was still burning and was continuing into the grass. The fire was spreading a little bit, and I was running away from the car, and Helen was running towards the car, and I thought, he's just stupid, don't get close to the car.
And Jenny was just screaming, you know, don't get close to the car, don't get close to the car. And I saw between myself and Jenny and the car my camera bag. I knew in my camera bag was a map over the area. So I was running towards the car, and she started mumbling. Even when I came back to her, she was just continuing, don't get close to the car, don't get close to the car.
Because it's on fire.
Yeah, it was on fire, and it was still, like, and all of a sudden, the car exploded. The car exploded, and it lifted from the ground maybe half a meter, and I guess the gasoline or something took fire, and it just exploded. And it was such a huge noise in the car. I was like, you know, I could feel myself starting to hyperventilate. It was like, I'm so, now I'm panicking. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to die here. And then I turned to Jenny, and she was still saying, don't get close to the car, don't get close to the car. And I looked at her face, and it was just white. The whole face, even the lips, like you couldn't see the lips, it was all gray white. And my only thought at that time was, you can't panic her. You have to stay calm, because she is before you here. She's gone before you to the panic stage. It's like, you have to stay calm. And like, I wasn't calm, but I couldn't go to panic.
I can imagine, you know, getting over the initial panic of needing to escape the car. You've escaped the car. Jenny, you thought you were gonna be killed by the rear wheel of the vehicle. And then in a split second, you realize that you're alive. You're both alive and you've escaped the car. How quickly did that shift into complete panic about the fact that the place that was your home for 3 days, the place you were sleeping, all of your food, all of your water, everything that you needed has gone up in flames?
That was kind of instant, I would say. The thing is, when you have when you're in the shop, time just disappears. I don't know if it's like 10 seconds or 10 minutes, I don't know. But we were standing watching the car and discussing, or at least thinking about, is it better to stay with a burning car that will keep the animals away, but risking to get burned, or actually burned to death? Or is it better to leave the car to get out of the fire, but then, on the other hand, you might meet very dangerous animals?
What did you actually decide to do? Because the thing is, you might be in shock, but the clock is ticking. You know, soon it's going to go dark, the hours are going to pass, there's going to be hours without food, without water, so you have to do something. Did you come up with any kind of plan?
We knew that there was like 20 kilometers to the nearest village. We thought that the village might be empty, but there might be a person there if we were lucky. So that was 20 kilometers. That was our best shot to go to. And when the fire around the car started to spread, the choice was quite easy. You don't really want to get burned. So we went. We started to walk.
And just walking out there in the bushes with the snakes, the scorpions, that was actually also really scary, but everything was so scary, so we just did it. And I remember wearing sandals. It wasn't like the perfect shoes to be walking around with. And I was scared to death, and I really wanted to get to this village before it got dark, because I'm really afraid of the dark. I hate being outside alone when it's dark. You know, when I come home, I turn on all the lights really quick, and always been like that since I was a kid. And when are the animals hunting? In the sunset. So I really wanted to go get that quick. So I started to walk really, really fast. And all of a sudden I could feel that Jenny wasn't behind me anymore.
Jenny was slower than you.
Certainly, yeah.
Because you'd hurt your shoulder as well, hadn't you? So you were really struggling.
I hurt my shoulder, so every time I put down my right foot, there was, you know, such pain in my neck. For every step, there was pain up the neck, and I was thinking about, should I really be walking? You know, if there's a car accident and your neck hurts, you should be really still until you're getting fixed. Mm-hmm. And there I was walking in the desert. But we had to, so I continued to walk. And then, to be honest, I'm not as fast as Helen. I am a slow walker. So I was getting behind. And Helen was really, you know, supportive. When I wanted to stop, she said, we have to go. Come on, just do it.
Jenny makes it sound like I was really supportive. I wasn't that supportive, actually, because I was really afraid. We cut off this branch that we could hold between us, so I wouldn't walk away from her again, because we were really afraid that we were going to get separated. Mm-hmm. Because it soon, really quickly, it became pitch black. Like, it was so dark, when I was holding out my hand in front of me, I couldn't see my fingers. Part of the time, because it was cloudy that night. And when the clouds came, and you couldn't see the moon anymore, got pitch black. Then the cloud disappeared and you could see a little. So we was continuing walking, and I was so afraid that we were going to get separated. So we were like walking, and then with this branch between us, Jenny said it felt like I was dragging her. I didn't, but we were holding on to something. But then Jenny wanted to, now I'm exhausted, I'm more rest, I'm just going to stay here. And I was like, no way. And I was like, you are not staying here. Just continue. She says I'm supportive. I was more like, You should walk. Put that right foot in front of your left foot and walk. And there was no way I was going to let her stay there. It was like, we're in this together. We were going to get out on the other side together. And there's no way I'm going to continue on my own because I'm too scared of it. The more people watching me from
I was so sure that if I were a lion, I would take the one with most meat and has a lip. That's the one I should go for, not the slim one that's fast. So I was so certain that I was going to be eaten. And then Helen said we do it together, but I still wanted to tell her that if I get eaten, just continue. Save yourself. Don't try to fight the lion. Just go on.
Oh, Jenny, did you have that conversation with Helen?
Yeah, I did. And it felt, now it feels weird saying it, but then it felt just natural. Just giving her permission so that she will not feel bad if she actually leaves me. Because I'm telling her, leave me. If I get eaten, leave me. Just go.
And we promised each other that we were not going to try to save each other. We were just going to leave. Because it's better that one of us is surviving than no one is.
Did you see things that night? Did you hear things that felt threatening?
Yeah, we were walking there, and I was walking in the front, and Jenny was walking behind me, and then all of a sudden in the dark I see 2 red dots coming towards us. And I was like, I remember I was closing my eyes like really hard and opening them again, and there were 4 red dots, like 2 pair of eyes walking towards us. And I got so scared. I couldn't even tell Jenny that there were something there.
Red eyes in the wilderness of the Kalahari Desert. Helen and Jenny were in real trouble. We're going to take a break right now. Stick with us. We're back after the news.
This is the BBC World Service with Izzy Lawrence, looking at women's education and development. I'll be talking about a set of attitudes that some of us have encountered from our friends, families, or even teachers.
I said, I want to play the bass. And they said, girls don't play the bass. I had dreams. I wanted to actually go to university. And then I was just told, nope, you're a girl. Go get a job and get married.
The issue of women's education is closely linked to the broader issues of women's rights and women's role in society.
Some Asian families still do have a tendency to only give priority to the sons when it comes to education.
In my case, every time my mother called me to do some housework, my father would turn up and say, Parimala is studying, and what do you want her to do? I will do it. Today I'm a university professor because of him.
The Forum, the fight for women's education. Saturday at 11 GMT.
Next on Outlook, on the BBC World Service, Helen and Jenny were facing death, stranded in the Kalahari Desert. When they came across a tractor, it looked like they could find a way out of their nightmare.
We were going to get to freedom. Jenny says the key is going to break. And she get the keys out, and it's a small string of iron that's keeping the whole key together.
Their salvation would come from a tin of Spam. Find out how after the latest headlines.
BBC News with Neil Nunes. President Biden has strongly defended Israel, condemning the arrest by the International Criminal Court prosecutor for an arrest warrant for Israeli leaders and rejecting claims of genocide in Gaza. Prosecutors also seeking warrants for 3 Hamas leaders. Mr. Biden said there could be no equivalence between Israel and Hamas. Funeral ceremonies for the Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi will start today in the city of Tabriz, near the place where he died in a helicopter crash. The Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei will preside over the main ceremony on Wednesday. Australia and New Zealand are sending planes to New Caledonia to evacuate citizens stranded by violent unrest in the French Pacific Island and Territory. There's been a week of rioting sparked by electoral changes opposed by indigenous Kanak separatists. Commercial flights have resumed at Haiti's International Airport, nearly 3 months after it was closed due to gang-related violence racking the country. In his final day of testimony at Donald Trump's criminal trial in New York, his former lawyer Michael Cohen has admitted to stealing $30,000 from Mr. Trump's company. Mr. Trump denies falsifying accounts to hide hush money paid to a porn star. Armed police in Kosovo have carried out raids on branches of the Serbian Postal Savings Bank in the majority Serb north. The crackdown marks a further escalation of Pristina's ban on the use of Serbian currency. Microsoft has unveiled what it's described as the next generation of Windows PCs with built-in hardware and software tools to leverage the power of AI. And Mexico's Environment Agency is investigating a spate of deaths among wild howler monkeys that's been linked to a severe heat wave. BBC News.
Welcome back to Outlook. I'm Mubin Azar. At the end of part 1, we left Helen Orberg and Jenny Soderqvist, two friends from Sweden, wandering in the dark in the middle of Botswana's Kalahari Desert. Their car, a mobile home for the trip, burst into flames. It was gone, along with all of their supplies. They had to move, and the hope of finding shelter kept them going. But there was fear as well, because in the wilderness, Helen and Jenny were just another part of the food chain. And then, in the dark of night, Helen spotted two pairs of glowing red eyes.
At that moment, she said, I have to stop because I have this stick in my foot. And I was like, you can't stop now. I have to. And then I thought about that antelope that the cheetah didn't eat.
And the antelope won that battle just through being still.
Yeah, exactly. So we were just standing completely still. And Jenny also took the chance to take a little rest. So she was still, even though I didn't say, just be totally still. We could hear something in the grass. We never said anything, but they passed us. And we continued one direction, they continued the other direction. And we later found out that the only animal that have red dots in the dark, in that size, in this area, is lions.
To survive, they had to keep moving. To keep the fear at bay and ward off predators, they began to make noise.
First we tried to sing, but it's too difficult to walk and sing at the same time. So then we started to scream out the alphabet, the numbers. We were both working on TV, and we often go 10, 9, 8, before the show starts. We did that.
We did German grammar.
We came into some kind of rhythm. One of us was screaming hey, and the other one was answering ho. Hey!
Ho!
Hey!
Ho!
In a loop.
In a loop.
Yeah, for hours. And we also made some of the football chant. We're not really into that team or anything, but we did scream the hey,
Hey, yeah, hey,
yeah,
po, hey, po,
oh, cool.
go.
That was lagging though.
Jenny and Helen shuffled along in the dark, chanting Swedish football songs to scare away the animals. And then, out of the blackness, they hit something tangible.
It's a stone wall, and you can feel the heat from the sunlight.
And we walked around it and we realized you can go in here. This looks a bit like a public toilet. And Jenny was so brave because she just walked in there.
I had a little stick in my hand, just smashing everything. That's when you could tell that there was a toilet, because I could hear the sink. So we got in and slept on the floor for that very long night.
That tiny washroom became a sanctuary for a few hours. On the cold floor, they rested as much as they could. The temperature in the Kalahari can tumble in the nighttime, and Helen's warm clothes had been lost in the fire. Now they huddled together, trying to block out the noise from the animals, the thoughts of being eaten.
When it started to get light, we could actually see that there was 3 houses not too far away, 150 meters. And then we were so happy because now we know we are safe. And we knocked on the doors and knocked on the windows, but there was no footsteps in the sand, there was no marks of life. So we kind of knew quite fast that it was abandoned.
Did you make it into the house? Because at least it would provide some shelter.
We actually pushed in the door. My shoulder was really hurting, so I was using my thighs and butt just to, push in the door, and managed after quite some time. I managed to get in.
When Jenny broke in and she was like falling in and me just behind, the first thing that we met was like a big picture of Milli Vanilli.
Milli Vanilli, the band.
Yeah.
How strange, in the middle of the Kalahari Desert.
Yeah, and the other picture was of George Michael.
So obviously a fan of 80s pop music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this point, you haven't been able to eat anything, you haven't been able to drink anything. So were you looking for some sustenance in the house?
Yeah, we were, and we were finding some pasta and some soup, and we found 2 cans of Spam, the ham.
It's a kind of processed luncheon meat in a tin, isn't it, normally?
Yeah. Also a big tank of rainwater. Oh, it was the best water ever.
Thirst quenched. They now had shelter and a less crucial mini collection of 80s pop memorabilia. The thing is, Jenny and Helen were still lost to the world. Jenny's shoulder needed medical attention too. Looking at their map, the nearest cluster of civilization was 100 kilometers away. They couldn't walk it, so they spent the next day laying out the letters H-E-L-P in bricks on the ground in case any planes were looking overhead. None came. Outside one of the houses, though, was a tractor, abandoned like everything else. They thought this could be it, but to get it going, they needed to find the key.
We were looking all over. We were going through this house. Every drawer we were looking in. And we find a padlock key.
A padlock key?
Yeah, and we tried that. We tried hair clips. We tried all the keys that we could find. One of those padlock keys actually started the engine. And I mean, we were so excited. But then we realized that there was not much gasoline in the tractor. And then when we were going to start the tractor again, Jenny was driving and I was sitting next to her. We were going to be saved. We were going to get to freedom. And Jenny says, it's going to break. The key is going to break. And she gets the keys out, and it's just like a small string of iron that's keeping the whole key together. And there's no way that we can be able to start the tractor with that key.
I was so disappointed. It felt like I actually got like 20 centimeters shorter. I just moved.
Their hopes of getting away snapped in two. They felt trapped. It was now day 4 of their 3-day trip. A tractor, but no way to start it. Jenny climbed out of the cabin once more, determined to find another key.
Then I could hear a noise, and I just know this is a lion. It's a lion. I've been watching too many documentaries about it. And I knew that this is a lion making this noise. I was so scared, I couldn't move. I couldn't say anything. I just couldn't move. I just froze. And I wanted to tell Helen that it's a lion out here, but I just couldn't. And then Helen turned around, and I could see in her eyes were really wide, and I knew that she knew.
Both Jenny and Helen scrambled into the tractor cabin and shut the flimsy door. Huddled together, they expected the prowling lion to appear. They waited and waited for hours.
I was really sure that now we're gonna stay and wait for help.
Because, let me get this right, you were meant to be back after 3 days anyway, so at this point people would perhaps know you were missing?
Yeah, but I wasn't so sure that anyone was going to go looking for us. If we were going to get out of there, we had to do it ourselves. And I said to Jenny, I'm just going to go up there and see if I can find something else to start the tractor.
And I thought she was so brave and so reckless.
At the same time.
Yeah.
And I made it. I made it to the house and I was looking all over for everything. And I was so disappointed. I was crying, I was angry, I was kicking at things. The tears was just all over the place. And I was so disappointed. I was so tired. I was so angry. I was angry at everything and anything. And I just thought, there's no way we're gonna die here. We can't leave this house. No one's gonna find us, and we can't leave. And Jenny's sitting in that tractor, and she's probably gonna die out in the tractor, and I'm gonna die here in the house. And this is it. And I can't tell my parents and my husband to be that I'm alive because I can't get that damn tractor started.
It sounds so completely exhausting.
Yeah, I was so disappointed. And then eventually Jenny came. She made me coffee because we found some instant coffee. And she was just sitting next to me, holding me, and I was so sad. I was crying like a baby. And we kept just saying, I just want to tell them that we're alive. I've always started to cry now. I just want to tell them that we are alive. And Jenny goes like, I know, we are going to tell them. We are going to tell them. And this was the thing, because the whole time, one of us was weak, the other one got strong. Like when we were throwing ourselves out from the car, Jenny panicked before me, so I didn't have a chance to panic. I just had to stay focused. Then when it got dark, I got too scared to be able to stay focused. I was so scared, and I started to cry, and I was like, if I die, when we had this talk about if the lion comes and take me, you have to, we don't gonna rescue each other. And I said, if I die, you have to tell my brother that I love him. And Jenny says, it's better you tell him yourself. And I was so sad, and I couldn't hold it together. Then she had to be the strong one. And this was like going on the whole time. Like, one was dipping down, the other one had to go up. And then Jenny said, we need to have some food. I put myself together, went up to the kitchen, and I took out this Spam, this ham. I mean, I for sure don't like conserved ham. I never eat it, but I was opening this Spam tin, and I realized those cans, they had like an opener on them. Like you open the tin with this thing that you break from the bottom of the can, and it looks exactly like a key. And I was like, I mean, we tried hair clips, we tried padlock keys, we tried everything in that tractor, and this one looked just like a key, and there were 2 cans of Spam. If this was working, we had a spare key. I said to Jenny, you know, one thing, Jenny, we're just going to eat, and then we're going to try this. But we eat first.
They ate the Spam and talked about work. With a desperate rush of anxiety, the one question that actually needed answering, would this flimsy key from the tin get the tractor going?
It is really ridiculous starting a tractor with a tin opener, so I didn't really believe in it. So I was standing outside, and Helen got into the tractor.
I took the key, put it into the ignition, and turned it, and the engine started. And
wow.
I just got the tractor started.
And I was so happy. We forgot all about lions. We were just just pure happiness.
We were jumping, screaming, crying, dancing outside the tractor, and we were gonna get out of there.
They packed the tractor with all the supplies they could and left a note to say they were heading to the Grasslands Safari Hotel. Then they began the final 100-kilometer leg of their journey.
We drove up this tractor to the hotel, and this man came out. Because it was so cold, he had one of those skiing masks on. And I didn't even stop. We were just throwing ourselves out from the tractor. We were like, hey, how can you, we were talking, our car were burning, and we were like, we've been in there for a couple of days. We were talking Swedish, English. It was like such a mess. And he was like backing, and I guess we weren't smelling strawberries either. He was so shocked to see us.
After days of being stalked by lions in the wilderness, Helen and Jenny were safe. They were looked after and taken to a spot where they could ring the police and the embassy. And finally, they could call home.
I called my boyfriend and I said, "Hi, it's Helen. I don't know if you know that we've been missing for some days." And he was just quiet and he said, "If I know, the whole country knows. Like, you're on the tabloids, you're on the news, you're on the radio, television, you're everywhere." And then he said, "I knew that you were going to come home with a good story." He texted one of our colleagues at the Swedish television station, and he jumped up on a desk, and he was just reading this text message, and everyone was crying and screaming and cheering, and everyone was like, "Read it again! Read it again!"
Jenny, what about you? What was your first call?
I phoned my parents. I was really surprised when my father answered, because I thought he should be at work. So I said, "Hey, hi, it's Jenny," and he just said, Is it you? Is it you? Wait, I'm fainting. You have to talk to Mom." And then and then he put the phone to Mom.
That's so sweet. There's a poetry, I would say, in the idea that you survived because of each other and because of your hard work and tenacity. Less poetic, perhaps, is the fact that you survived because of the key on a tin of Spam. Have you kept the key?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, really? You still have it?
We have one.
Is it kept somewhere safe?
Yes. I still have the camera bag, I still have the guidebook with the map, and still have the key.
Do you credit each other with your survival?
We certainly do. And I usually say that if there were two Jennys, we would both be dead, and if there were two Helens, we would be dead. But the fact that we are very different, and that was really the perfect match.
It was just that we just needed each other the whole time. In every move we made, we needed each other. I wouldn't have been here today without Jenny. And actually, I don't think Jenny would have been here today without me.
Helen Oberg and Jenny Soderqvist, huge thanks to them both for sharing their story and changing the way I think about Spam forever. And it was a listener, Adele, who got in touch to tip us off about this